We are ready for our next case. Ms. Haywood, good morning. Would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number.
Deanna Haywood, 316-245.
Ms. Haywood, let me acknowledge the folks that we have here in Baton Rouge with us today. We have Anita Mosley with the Parole Project, Dimitri C. Moore, I apologize again for that, with the Parole Project, Sherlonda Himes, Cynthia Queer, Kenneth Williams, and Tracy Williams. And I believe Mr. Kenneth Williams will be speaking in support at the appropriate time. We'll call on him to do so. And I noticed that you have your brother, Mr. Kenneth, well, he's here. Tracy Williams is there with you? Well, introduce your guests that you have there.
Ivy Mathis and Jessica Kelly.
Okay. Will they be speaking on your behalf?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, we'll call on them at the appropriate time to do so. Okay, first, let me just read some identifying information into the record. Then I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Jackson. Your case has been assigned to her this morning. So, Ms. Haywood, you are here seeking a commutation of your sentence. You were sentenced in September of 1992 in Calcasieu Parish for a first-degree murder and received a life sentence. Is that information correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Right, Mrs. Jackson.
Good morning, Ms. Haywood.
Good morning.
Are you having any trouble hearing me?
No, ma'am.
All right, Ms. Haywood, let me start with just a few questions. How old are you?
51.
And how long have you been incarcerated in this case?
32 years.
How old were you when you committed this crime?
19.
And tell me about who you were at age 19. Have you graduated from high school?
Yes, ma'am. I was a junior at McNeese State University.
All right, you were actually enrolled that semester?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you employed?
Yes, ma'am.
Who were you living with?
My mother and my father.
Okay. So tell us about the victim in this case. What was her name and how did you know her?
Her name was Miss Grace Lies. I met her at where I worked at Piccadilly. I was a waitress.
Okay. And how did it, I mean, you meet a lot of people working as a waitress. So how did she become someone particular in your life?
She came to my table all the time and I befriended her.
Okay. Did she ever provide you any kind of financial assistance?
No, ma'am.
Did you ask her to provide some help for you? I think there was some sort of sale that you were trying to have and you thought she might have some items that whatever.
Yes. Yes,
So
ma'am.
why were you having financial difficulties? You lived with your mom and dad, you had a job. So why were you in financial need?
I had a part-time job. That was a part-time job at Piccadilly.
And
And
you
I
lived
was
with,
ma'am.
lived with your parents.
Yes, ma'am. I can't understand that. Okay. Could you repeat the question, ma'am?
Well, you were working,
Yes, ma'am.
lived at home with your parents.
Yes, ma'am.
It means you didn't have to pay rent. You didn't have any utility bills. You didn't have any food bills. And whatever you made at Piccadilly was just kind of extra. Isn't that right?
No, ma'am, neither one of my parents was working.
Okay. So what does that mean?
I was the one that was providing.
Okay, and why weren't your parents working?
Well, my mother was a gambler and my dad was an alcoholic. They would just make ends meet, but I was the one that was actually providing.
So, tell us what happened on the day that Miss Lyles was killed. Tell us everything that happened that day.
I went to her house to pick up a donation that she was giving me for my garage sale. And when I went in her house, she asked me to sit down on her sofa, and I did. And she asked me, did I want a glass to put my cold drink in because I had a cold drink in my hand. And when she walked off to go get the cold drink, I was looking around and greed kicked in, my immaturity, and I saw nice things that I had wanted. And when she came back, I ended up harming her. I killed her.
What'd you do? How did you kill her? Tell us how. I mean, you go in there because she's going to donate something for this sale.
Yes, ma'am.
She invites you to her home. She offers you something to drink.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know how that turns into murder. You're gonna have to help me understand how that turns into murder.
When she came back, I hit her on the side, in the back of her head.
No, ma'am, listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
Why kill this woman who was trying to help you? Someone that you knew, someone that had been kind to you. And you go to her house and the first thing that comes into your mind is to hit her over the head with a Coke bottle? And
No, yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, help me understand that.
I was young and I wanted the things that she had.
So you were willing to kill her just because you wanted some things?
Greed, yes, ma'am.
Had you stolen from her in the past?
No, ma'am.
Had she accused you of stealing from her in the past?
Repeat the question.
Had you accused you of using her credit card or doing
Yes,
something?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And why would she have thought that?
Why did she think you were taking things from her?
Because I did.
Well, tell us how that happened.
The credit card,
Whatever you took from her.
her credit card, when she came to my table when I was waitress,
Okay, and why did you do that?
because I wanted it. I needed to buy some things
What kind
For
of
my-
thing?
for my brother and my little sister and some food, all kind of stuff, school stuff.
So in your mind, that made it okay to take her credit card and use it for your own personal benefit?
No, ma'am.
And did she go to your boss or someone at the restaurant and discuss the situation with them? Did you end up losing your job as
Yes,
a
ma'am.
result? Okay, well, then how did the restaurant know that you had done that if she had not gone to them and voiced her suspicions? So she did go to the restaurant and she advised someone that she felt that you had used her credit card without her permission. Isn't
Yes,
that
ma'am.
what happened?
Yes, ma'am.
Don't make me have to drag it out for you,
Yes,
Ms.
ma'am.
Haywood.
Yes, ma'am. I can't hear. She talking. I can't hear her.
Oh. She went to the restaurant and made a complaint
Yes, ma'am.
on her credit card and you got fired,
Yes, ma'am.
correct?
Yes, ma'am.
After that is when you took her life.
Yes, ma'am.
You hit her over the head with a Coke bottle or whatever kind of beverage you were drinking. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Then somehow you all were in the kitchen and you grabbed a crock pot and you
Yes,
hit her
ma'am.
with a crock pot.
I hit her. Yes, ma'am. I hit her on top of the head.
And then you ended up with a knife
Yes, ma'am.
and you stabbed her.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any idea how many times you stabbed her?
No, ma'am.
Once, more than 10? Just give me an
Yes.
idea.
About 10 or 15.
How about 36? That's what the autopsy showed. She was stabbed 36 times. Well, let me ask you this. I mean, I know that you've had 154 write-ups. The last one being in 2012. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Why
Yeah.
has your
Ms. Jackson, can I just interrupt? We did send an updated, I'm sorry. So there
Okay.
were 3 additional write-ups to that. I just want to make sure it's accurate.
Okay, what was the most recent?
2014.
And what was that for? Do you have that in front of you for what that was for?
Yes, ma'am, just 1 second. We have a Rule 21 in 2013, a Rule 5 in 2013, and a Rule 24 in 2014. For the unauthorized area was the most recent.
What is 21? That
Any sex offense.
sex offense. All right. All right, so you actually had 157 write-ups. So why have you gotten so many write-ups, Ms. Haywood?
Because at the time I had just got my life sentence and I was trying to adapt and process me having a life sentence, never being able to go home.
Well, you have been there a while in 2012, 2013, and 2014. So that wasn't right after you got your life sentence. You should have adjusted by then.
By then, that's when I was putting myself together.
It took a long time, huh?
Yes, ma'am.
Of your write-ups, you had 13 for theft. 13 for theft. This crime involved greed and money and theft, and you've been written up 13 times for theft. You've had 32 for disobedience, 17, or is it 7? I can't read my writing, for aggravated disobedience, and then 26 for unauthorized areas. Why should we feel confident, Ms. Haywood, that you should be released and that you're not a threat to society? Because you continue to commit crimes even while you were in prison, because theft is a crime. And you've had 13 write-ups for theft. You stole from the victim in this case. And you killed her, after she reported your theft. So why should I or anyone on this board feel that you are ready at this time to be released into society?
32 years ago, I was 19 and I was selfish, naive, and greedy. But I'm not that person anymore, Miss Jackson.
Let's talk about the theft. If you're not greedy, because theft, you're right, basically all theft is greed. Wanting what you don't have and taking it. Over the course of your time, you've had 13 separate write-ups for stealing. And you were not 19 when you got those write-ups.
But I'm not that person anymore.
Why
I
should-
know.
Why
I know.
should we do that? Why should we believe that? You're gonna have to convince me personally that you are not that person. So why should I believe that?
Because I've taken a lot of classes and I know what it is to be, I know how to be happy and content without now. I've taken a lot of classes and I know how to make different decisions. I don't make the same decisions anymore.
Well, tell me some of the programs that cause the lights to turn on for you.
One of them would be my MRT class, but right
What-
now,
What
ma'am,
did you learn in RT class?
to be honest with myself and to be honest with others.
And when did you take that class?
About 2 years ago,
Okay,
in my Thinking for a Change class,
and how did that impact you?
basically that I can make different decisions. I don't have the impulse anymore. I have to think before I make my own decisions. I have to I know how a better way to process situations.
What is, you're involved in a reentry program?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us about that.
My reentry and my victim impact class. I've learned in my victim impact class and my reentry class to take, not only did I harm the victim family, but I also harmed the community.
Okay. Well, Miss Lyles was 70 years old. Now, for those of us on this panel, that's not that old, to be honest with you. But she was partially paralyzed on one side, so she was basically defenseless.
Yes, ma'am.
What would you say to her family? If you had the opportunity, what would you say to her family?
That I'm deeply sorry for the damage and hurt that I've caused them, for the family and her friends. And it's nothing that I can really say the words to express my remorse and regret that I've done for the situation that I've made.
Well,
And
how do you think your actions have affected them, since you've gone to victim impact and you've learned the impact? So tell me some of the impact that you think their family members' death caused,
Trauma,
such as,
hurt, pain.
those are just words.
They probably, ma'am,
Those are just words. Put something behind those words.
I'm just saying that I know that they're still hurt. They probably, it's something that they think about every day because it's never gonna leave them.
What do you think they missed out on?
Everything, their mother, their grandmother, their sister.
Oh, Warden, what can you tell us about Ms. Haywood?
Yes, ma'am. I know, we did obviously talk about the disciplinary write-ups in the beginning of her incarceration, but since 2014, she has caught some traction and really started to apply herself in different programs with NCCER. And she spoke about the victim impact class that she's also in right now. She is a minimum custody inmate with us, so we really don't have much trouble from her, obviously in the recent couple of years. And she has participated in Toastmasters, culinary arts clubs as well.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Mr. O'Shea, any questions?
Yes, I have one question. Ms. Haywood, good morning. Good morning,
Good morning.
Ms. Haywood. You were not very forthcoming at the beginning of the interview until you found out that Ms. Jackson had all the information. I want to ask you one question, and I need you to be honest.
Yes, sir.
You had done some housekeeping for the victim, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
That's when you stole the credit card, right?
Yes, sir.
But you told me, Jackson, you stole a credit card while you was at Piccadilly's. And you used it because your family needed some food. But actually, you used the card to buy some jewelry. And after you found exactly what you wanted and you bought it, you cut up the card, right?
Yes, sir.
And she confronted you at Piccadilly's, and that resulted in you losing your job.
Yes, sir.
Did you go to Miss Laws in retribution for how causing you to lose your job?
No, sir.
But you didn't take it after you killed Miss Laws and stabbed her 36 times, say that she was holding on to your leg and you couldn't leave. That's why you attacked her with the crock pot and you stabbed her because she was holding on to your leg and you couldn't leave. But when you did leave, you didn't take anything. You just fled the scene. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So why did you tell me, Jackson, you saw things that you wanted? You had some nice things and you wanted it, and that's why you hit her over the head with a Coke bottle.
I,
And we knew it was a Coke bottle because there were some green glass embedded in her skull. Why didn't you take anything?
I did take some money. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, thank you, Ms. Haywood.
Thank you, Mr. O'Shea. We'd like to hear from us who are there with you this morning. So would you step up and just introduce yourself, tell us your relationship to Ms. Haywood, and what would you like us to know?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, Honorable Board. My name is Ivy Mathis, and I am a reentry mentor organizer specialist with HOPE, and that stands for Voice of the Experience. Sitting here with Ms. Haywood today, before I say that, I'm happy to announce that we have our first female transitional home located in New Orleans that's called Diamond House, where we have partnered with Catholic Charities, and they assign case management and they take care of all of the needs for our clients, and that's been a success. Now, I am formerly incarcerated. I served 26 years. I was sentenced to life at the age of 17. I was released December the 11th, 2018. So I had the opportunity to grow up with Ms. Haywood. And I sit here today to tell you that she has stately matured throughout the years. And she now to date demonstrates that with her community. Should Ms. Haywood released or pardoned, she will be coming to the transitional home in New Orleans where she has support of the community, support of a sisterhood who were also given second chances and are willing to invest in her success. She has the support of her family, and to me, from personal experience, that's the key element to formerly incarcerated people being successful when they have a support system and they are surrounded with that support system. And I am going to personally invest in her success.
Thank you. Good to hear you got female housing.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks for that. All right, next is it Kelly?
Yes, ma'am. Hello, I'm Jessica Kelly. I too served at LCIW. I did 12 years. That is also where I met Deanna as well. And we formed a relationship that has expanded on the outside. When I get phone calls from Deanna, if I'm going through something, I know she probably calls me to encourage her, but it turns the other way around. She is such a good support person. Someone like when I get her call, I know that I'm going to get some relief on whatever it is that I'm going through. I've seen a tremendous change in her over the course of the past couple of years, and also her walk with God. Her walk with Christ has also given her a different outlook and an impact on life, whatever. And I'm excited to also be an avenue to help her whenever she's released on whatever it is that she may need, so that she would also have some additional support besides what she's already been given by Ms. Mathis. Just to see her do the things that she said that she wants to do, and just to see her walking it, like I'm excited to be a part of that for her.
All right, good, thank you. All right, and thus we have Mr. Williams.
First, I want to say I'm truly sorry that our family and the victim's family has to be intertwined in this way. And with that being said, my name is Kenneth Williams. I'm a retired Chief Warrant Officer in the Marine Corps. And in order for you all to know the situation, I have to go back. And going back, it takes me to before I went in the Marine Corps, I built in selling of drugs. I didn't get caught, but my family support system was all about me, what I could provide for them, what I could do. But I met my wife. We've been married for 33 years now, and she didn't know anything about it. She thought, that's selling cars. That's how we met. But she wound up getting pregnant, and I knew if I was going to make a better life, that I couldn't do it, and she wouldn't stand for anything like that. She'd be gone. So I went into the Marine Corps, and went into the Marine Corps. I didn't tell my sister anything because my sister was my heart. I provided for her, did everything, and I just left without telling her. But it was in order to make a better life for my family, my new family, and my old family. And I found out that she did this. I was in the Marine for about a year and a half, 2 years, and I found out that I didn't know what was going on. I found out that this had happened. And instead of me trying to help her, it didn't fit into my lifestyle. And so I left her again. And I left her there, and I'm not saying what she did was right, but I feel like I put her in that circumstance where she didn't have a support system, like she said about our family. And our family never said love to each other. And with all that being said, it took me, I did 20 plus years in the Marine Corps. I became a Chief Warrant Officer. Tried to enjoy the Marine Corps, but I'm still missing missing something, deploying, my wife taking care of our family, and coming with the deployments, impacting I found Christ, a better way of living. So I can tell my family I love them now. I know right from wrong. And I was wrote government contracts. It was only 32 of us in the Marine Corps. And so I dealt with a lot of different situations. And doing that, I learned that I abandoned my sister. And so when only time she would have a visit was when I came into town, and I just so happened I would go visit her. And then when I would visit her, the family would, I had to take my family, my mother, our father had passed away. So I had to take my mother and my younger brothers and sisters to see her. That was the only time she would have a visit. So during all this time, I realized that she didn't have any support in there. So that's when she had got all these infractions, all these things happened. When I retired out of the Marine Corps, one thing that I promised was, because of the things that I saw, that she needed support. And so I began to visit her, and gave her that support she needed. And when I tell you all this, when I walked in that prison, and my sister, I walked in, everybody else is sitting in chair around tables. They told me I had to sit on this podium. And I wondered why. It's my first time. I never got any trouble or anything. I had to sit on this podium. And sitting on that podium waiting for her, and to see my sister walk in there with shackles on and handcuffed was truly an eye-opener. And I told her, I almost walked out then. But I told her, hey, I'm gonna do my part and to help you in every way I can. But you have to do your part. And after that, if you all, that's when I think after that, 2 infractions came. And since then, she hasn't had any infractions. She has become a model inmate. And so I say that with being to the present now, is that I have seen a change in her, because recently they had an incident where she couldn't, I think she does activities. I know she does activities, in charge of activities. And she couldn't do something for an inmate. The inmate got real violent and began to go in after her. And the guards had to stop the inmate. And my sister did not retaliate. So that's showing me there a change in her. And with her, with me feeling the way I did and couldn't believe in that crime, I never let my kids see her. I never brought them up there or anything. So she never got to hold my kids. She never got to do anything with my kids. And that's so deeply how I feel about what had happened. But when as I grew older and learned and situations came up, things are life-changing moments. But in those life-changing moments, we all have been shown mercy and grace. So today, that's what I ask for my sister, for mercy and grace. I really feel that she has paid her debt, and not, again, I'm not taking anything away from the victim's family, but she also has paid a debt with our family too. And I thank you all for your time. And I really appreciate the support that you all have provided for us too. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Haywood, is there a statement you'd like to make to the board before we vote?
Yes, ma'am. I want to thank all of y'all on the panel. And I take full responsibilities for what I've done, but I'm not that person anymore. And I'm just asking for mercy and grace to give me a second chance.
Thank you. I think we are prepared to vote.
I'd like to ask for executive session.
We have a
Second.
motion and second for executive session. Is there any opposition? All right, so we have a unanimous vote. Stand by. We'll be in executive session for a few moments to discuss confidential matters. All right, we are back in regular session now and we are prepared to vote. Mrs. Jackson will be voting first.
All right, Ms. Haywood, I will tell you, this has been a very difficult case for me, as well as the other members of the board, because this really was a terrible crime. Not in any way want to diminish your actions 32 years ago. But you have grown. You have a lot of support from former inmates, from family. The board has spoken well of you. You have the benefit of transition services. You have the support of your family. And you have served a substantial amount of time. So my vote today would be to recommend a commutation of sentence to 99 years.
Mr.
Thank you.
Rushay?
Madam Chairman, Ms. Haywood, my vote is the same for the same reasons.
Mr. Freeman?
I concur.
Yes. All right. Ms. Haywood, I do agree with my colleagues. My vote also is the same. So on your behalf, we'll make a recommendation to the governor that your sentence be commuted to 99 years. I'd like to Warren Thomas, that concludes our business at your facility. We're going to sign off at
Thank you.
11:06.
Thank you.